Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Accidentally Profound, the unofficial #1 podcast in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am your host, Drew Kennington, and as always, we are coming to you live from the beautiful, sunny Indianapolis, Indiana. Getting this one in a little mid-afternoon while the sun is still shining. Got a pretty warm day on our hands, so we want to get this one in the can so we can get out and enjoy the weather that the beautiful earth has offered us on this day. Also, got to get this one in because I'm not sure if you guys recall, but last week I had my first pickleball league game. And I know some of you guys are losing sleep and wondering, Drew, how did it go? It's a pretty big situation there for you. How'd you end up doing? Well, my fair viewer, I am not pleased to inform you that I got diced. I got lit up out there. I came into this whole pickleball league situation thinking that I'm not. I thought I was gonna be nice. I don't think I'm a pickleball pro by any means, but I'd say I'm pretty athletic. I'm tall. I have long arms. I think I'm pretty quick. I have a decently athletic build. And who is the main demographic of people playing pickleball? Older women and older men. So I'm thinking I'm going to pull up to this pickleball league, be matched up with someone's granny, dice her up for an hour, go on about my day, go home. A little bit of an ego boost. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm that guy. Boy, was I wrong. I get to this situation. Granted, it was a nice mix of younger people and older people. It was not a bunch of grannies wearing knee braces that I kind of expected, the vibe to be. Well, I had two older women and one middle-aged man on my team. And I'm not thinking too much of it. Thinking this is gonna be a little cakewalk, little low-key game. Before the game starts, one of the older ladies comes up to me and she's like, "Are you a pro?" Kind of joking, in jest. And I go, nah, I've played a handful of times. I'm just kind of here to have fun. And she's like, yeah, me too, man. That's what it's all about. We're just coming out here to have fun. I'm coming off an Achilles tear, so, I'm just kind of getting back into it. Like, sick, bro. This is going to be so easy. I'm going to hit a couple spikes, show these little ladies what's going on. They're going to know who the kid is. It's going to be great. Dog, I didn't win a single game. The only reason I won the last game. I played 3 games. The only reason I won the last game is because my teammate was the best player on the court. And she was like, I don't know, she was probably 50 something. But the lady that I talked to before the game started, that was like, hey, are you a pro? I'm just here for fun. She was on my team one of the games. And, like I said, I was getting a little diced up. So I'm over here, not carrying my weight, so to speak, in this game. And I look over, kind of like cracking a half smile at her, being like, what can you do about it? She was real life mad. She was genuinely upset. Like, I think she was actually mad that I was on her team because I was doing, not my best. I was like, damn, bro, this is like life and death for y'all. This is your guys' Super Bowl every week, which is fair, so to speak. If you got that competitive spirit and you are a little bit older and there's really nowhere else no other avenue you can express that. The pickleball court is where it all goes down for you. So yeah, this lady was kind of mad, and these people were like I said, like at least the court I was on, they were taking this shit for real. So I guess I need to now, mentally prepare myself for that when I go in there this evening. But I will say this evening will be kind of interesting because Naomi and I will be on the same court. Last week we were not. She was on an earlier time slot than me, and you're not guaranteed to get on the same court. But for whatever reason, somehow we ended up on the same court this week. So we will be playing together at some point and playing against each other. And I am a little curious to see how that goes because one thing about me and Naomi is we are a competitive couple. Like we've played pickleball, just me and her before, or we've played like basketball. And anytime we play, it'll be fun at first, and then they'll kind of get to a point where things get a little too serious and things get a little competitive. And then all of a sudden, it's like now we're like actually mad at each other. We're actually beefing with each other. And how it always starts, how it always happens, is Pickleball, for example, we'll be playing, you know what I mean? Just a casual game of pickleball, just a little back and forth volleys. Every now and again, you catch them lacking, whatever. Well, with us being competitive, Naomi will get up. She'll get to a point where it looks like she's going to win. And then she starts talking a little sweet, starts talking a little smack. Now, all of a sudden, I'm mad. You know what I mean? So coming into this, it's like, oh, I'm playing pickleball with my fiance. You know, she is a woman I care about, so I'm not going to be mean to her. I'm not going to do anything crazy. We're just here casually having fun. But the second you start talking shit, you're no longer my loving fiance. You are my enemy. You are an obstacle that I have to overcome. And all I see is red. So I'm out there just fucking spiking it, hitting it, doing all the things I can to win. And now she's mad at me. You know what I mean? It creates this weird environment where it's like, I'm like, you're going to talk shit to me? All right, cool. Let's do this. So I start saucing her up a little bit. Now I'm the asshole. Now she's mad at me. Or the other way it goes, same scenario. She talks shit, I get mad. But then she just continues to win. That's when I'm even more frustrated. Because it's one thing to be, losing in a game when you're very competitive. And it's another thing, when your fiance is like talking shit to you. But it's a whole other thing, man, when you, as a man, are getting shit talked by a woman and then she's just dicing you up. That's like the biggest kick in the nuts, the biggest hit to your pride. Oh, man, that sucks. I hate that. Because then, like, now I'm mad. You know what I mean? She's like cheesing, she's grinning, she's like, hee hee ha ha, that was so much fun. I'm fuming. I'm like real life frustrated. And one thing about me, man, I'm usually pretty even keel. I'm usually pretty chill. I'm usually pretty mellow. But when I get frustrated, if I'm not able to hold my tongue, I get a little sassy, bro. I'm a bit of a diva. I start getting smart, man. My mouth gets me in trouble a little bit. So usually, when I am in a frustrated state, I try to just not talk. I go mute. I just allow myself to fester in that frustration for a little bit, and then when I'm calmed down, I come back and talk. But when you just got diced up on the pickleball court, basketball court, whatever it may be, Nintendo Switch, you know what I'm saying? Whatever competitive thing we're playing, and then I'm frustrated, and then, maybe she says something sweet, whatever. Pretty hard to hold the tongue, and then you say something smart, and then now she's mad, I'm mad, and then now what was supposed to be just a fun little hangout of us playing pickleball is now a whole situation that we have to talk about over dinner. So hopefully that doesn't happen tonight. I don't think it will, because after last week's endeavor, like I said, I've realized that I'm not as nice at pickleball as I once thought I was, so there's really no, like, competitive, like, I need to win. Like, I'm genuinely out here just, like, honestly just trying to do my best and not piss my teammate off. Like, that's where I'm at with this whole pickleball league. It's not, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to win. It's, I just need to play well enough to not piss my teammate off. So, that should be fun. That's here in about 4-ish hours. So, if it goes well, or if it's a shit show, maybe next week we'll tap in here. But speaking of next week, I do want to let you guys know earlier on in this episode, next week's episode it definitely will not be getting recorded on Sunday. I got confirmation I will be at the Indy 500. So that's going to be like my whole day. So there will be no time to record this on Sunday. And also I want to do like a Indy 500 kind of recap episode. So it will probably get recorded on Monday. I don't know if it'll get released like late Monday, if like I'll record it like, I don't know, like midday Monday or something, and then release it later that day, or if I'll just do Tuesday. We'll just plan for Tuesday, and then maybe we'll plan for Tuesday. How about that? So no episode on Monday. It'll be on Tuesday next week because the kid is going to be getting sauced and tossed at the Indianapolis 500. Sorry, I hit the mic. It'll be a great time. And it is going to be an absolute blast. I have not quite figured out how I'm going to get there and get home. Getting there seems a little less stressful, but getting home, the people I've spoken to about the whole situation is like that it's 500,000 people, trying to leave a venue all at once. It's an absolute nightmare traffic, so I'm sure as hell not driving. I don't know what the ride share situation is going to look like. I'm assuming they're going to be charging out the ass, so I probably won't go that route. The only thing I can come up with is that I'm walking home, brother. I'm legging it. I live about 6.5 miles from the track. I might have to walk home. So I don't know how that's gonna go, but if I have enough beverages in me, maybe I can. I don't know. That might be an interesting endeavor, so we'll see. You'll get the update on that next week. We'll see how that all goes. So don't forget to tune in. Do not forget to set your alarms for that one. The first thing of, I guess, a consequence that I want to get into on today's show is not sure if you guys are tapped into the socials at Accidentally Profound on Instagram, at Accidentally Profound Pod on TikTok. But we had a bit of a moment on TikTok this week. Yes, the Accidentally Profound Pod. I almost said the Drew Kennington show right there. We had our first video that kind of went, for my standards, viral. You know, not in the grand scheme of things, but for the amount of views I was getting, I would say that I did pretty well. I briefly mentioned last episode how I was recording it before the NBA draft lottery, and I was going to maybe make a video about my reactions to the results afterwards, which, I mean, it's been a week now. If you haven't heard, the Pacers did not get a top 4 pick. It did not go the way that we wanted it to. So, you know, there was a bunch of discourse going on online about all the things that went into that and everything that involved. And, you know, I try not to get frustrated or let things that I see online alter my mood. But for whatever reason, the one thing that never fails to get me fired up is when people who don't know what they're talking about talk shit about the Indiana Pacers. That is the one thing that if I'm online, like, you know how in the past episodes I've said that, you know, when we've talked about people saying mean things on my social media posts, I'm always like, man, I don't even know how mad I'd have to be to leave a negative comment on a video someone posted. Well, this week I figured out where that line is, and that line is people who don't know what they're talking about, talking shit about the Pacers. Because there was a few videos, man, that I got real life frustrated, and I went into those comment sections, and I was, you know, I was jawing a little bit. I was saying some shit. I'm like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of toxic comments. But seeing all that, you know, I felt that I had the opportunity to kind of, I guess, lay it out for people in a better sense. Because not only were people talking shit, a lot of Pacers fans were like on the ledge, bro. They were about to jump. They were about to throw themselves off the building. So, you know, I had to kind of come in and give my take on why it wasn't as bad as everyone seemed to have thought it was. And it got like 23,000 views. It got a lot of views, bro. That's a lot of views for the kid. A bunch of comments. A lot of the comments were people just arguing in the comment section, which is funny because it's like, I'm glad I'm not alone in that aspect that I get frustrated about in the grand scheme something that is of absolutely no importance, like the NBA draft and like NBA trade, like things like that are really don't matter. But for whatever reason, me and it seems like a bunch of other people tend to get pretty fired up about that type of shenanigans. But the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I feel like that is a perfect example of how sometimes you just really need to get out of your own way if you want to start to see the change within yourself that you've been looking to see. Like, I have spoken a lot about kind of my dealings with short form content and social media and how it's been a bit of a struggle and how it's not something I'm super comfortable with. You know, even like at one point, like, you know, this whole podcast situation wasn't a very comfortable thing for me. But I'd always wanted to post videos like that. I'd always wanted to, you know, give my 2 cents on something and kind of go in depth about something that I care about, which is, you know, Pacers basketball. And I finally kind of got out of my own way and got out of my own head and quit listening to the bullshit in my head of like, you know, people thinking that I might look stupid if I do it. And I just did it. The funny thing is, I was literally driving to a meeting for work and I was going to get there 30 minutes early. I was like, man, I really don't want to be just sitting there for 30 minutes. So I pulled into a fucking Advanced Auto Parts parking lot, spent 10 minutes recording that video, 5 minutes editing it, and then finished driving to the event. Something that would have taken me hours just to like build the confidence to do in the past. It took me 15 minutes to lock in, get it done, and get it posted. So it just kind of goes to show that it's like you can do these things. These endeavors, these pursuits in your mind that you have, you can do them. But you need to get out of your own way first. Like there is literally nothing stopping you from doing anything it is that you want to do in this life. Except for you. For the most part. It's just your own brain telling you that, like, oh, it's going to be hard, or oh, you're going to look stupid, oh, people are going to talk shit about you. So you don't do it. You come with a million excuses about why you shouldn't do it, so you don't do it. But if you were just to like if you were able just to like, I don't know, shut your brain off for a little bit, you don't even really need to shut it off. Just like don't listen to it. Just be like, I'm going to do this regardless of whatever you have to say, Mr. Brain. And you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to live with it, bro, because I'm doing this. And then, like, you will do it, and you realize it's not so scary. You realize it's not as terrifying as you thought it was. You realize the world will not end if you just put yourself out there a little bit. So, I mean, that was a bit of a cool experience to kind of break through that little, I guess, issue I found within myself. The hurdle, there it is. I had found myself coming at a crossroads with the whole social media thing. And I've noticed just through that alone, I have already felt more confidence with this whole thing. Like I was at Needler's Friday night and I had this like, it was a stupid little idea I had for a video, like a funny video I could make dealing with Oreo cakesters, if you've ever heard of those. And I just like filmed it real quick and edited it. It's dumb as hell. I'm not gonna post it, but it's just like it's that like proof of concept that through doing it, I've been able to overcome the fear of the action, and I feel like that's the biggest like step you need to take in doing any type of new pursuit is you just have to like get over the fear of initially doing it. And then you can kind of start to build momentum. It's not like you're going to snap your fingers one day and all of a sudden you're just like a savant and you're good at it. But you have to start somewhere. And for most people, the first step is just getting out of your own way. Getting out of your own head with the whole situation and just trying something. It may not work. You may not like it. And that's okay. Because not everything that you try, not every pursuit, endeavor you pursue is going to be the one, but it'll help build that confidence. It'll help make you less afraid of trying new things because you realize who fucking cares? You know what I mean? Like, you realize like who really gives a shit? None of this really matters all that much. It's just like go try something, man. Just do something a little new, do something a little fun. Try to be a little silly, try to be a little funky dunky. And you might just put yourself in a position that you would have never thought you could find yourself in. So I guess while we're, a little on the topic of NBA basketball, let's talk a little playoffs. I don't know if I necessarily, I was about to say, I don't know if I necessarily talked any playoffs last episode, but I spent, I think 40 minutes of my last episode talking about like women's and men's hoops. So I'm sure somewhere in that 40-minute span we talked NBA playoffs. But, we've been covering it here on this show. And I'll be honest, the second round's been a bit of a snoozer. But there is kind of some storylines that I feel like there's a little bit of things to talk about there. So, like the first thing I kind of want to bring up is the Detroit Pistons. I don't know what it is or why they keep doing this, but they keep doing this thing. They've done it 2 rounds in a row where they just look dead in the water. Round one against the Orlando Magic. They go down 3-1. Seems like it's all over. And then they just come back, and I think it was in game 6 as well, where they just kicked the shit out of the Orlando Magic. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's no way in hell the Magic are beating this team. They've done the same thing against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They go up 2-0, they lose 3 straight. Game 6, it's like, oh my God, are the Cavs about to win 4 in a row to close out the Detroit Pistons? No, they got their shit kicked in by the Pistons. The Cavaliers looked like far and away the worst basketball team in this series. To the point where we're coming into game 7 and you're kind of like, yeah, there's no way in hell the Cavs are beating this Pistons team. So it's like, why is that their whole situation? Is that their whole identity now? Is that like they're just gonna like not play basketball for 3 games, then all of a sudden when it's like, hey, yeah, you lose one more, you're going home. Like, oh, let's lock in. Let's lock in. Or maybe it's a testament to Cade Cunningham and how he's just this chill, laid back guy to where most people might crumble under the pressure of being down 3-1 or being in an elimination game. He kind of keeps a level head and locks in, job's not finished. And until you win that 4th game, then the job will be finished. So we got that game tonight. I don't know if I'll be tapping into that or not. I probably will. Game 7s are always fun, but like I said before, it just does not seem like the Cavs have any sort of chance to do anything at all within that series. And I honestly do hope the Pistons make it because I feel like, A, the Pistons are the better basketball team. And B, they need to get their lick back on the New York Knicks because, first off, they probably should have beat them last year in the playoffs. There was a lot of shenanigans going on in that first round matchup last year. I don't recall really everything, but I vividly remember there was a couple games where it was like the ending was kind of weird and it was like, that was a very questionable call that could have shifted the entire outcome of the game. So I think the Pistons need to get their lick back, and I think they do have the better chance of beating the Knicks because I swear to God, I do not want the New York Knicks to make the NBA playoffs. I've said it probably 10 times on this show. I don't want the Knicks in the playoffs. That would be so annoying because it seems like it's probably going to be the Thunder again. So at least if the Pistons make it, I have somebody to root for besides, having to root for the Thunder because they're playing against the Knicks. So we'll see. I mean, the Pistons may not even make the Eastern Conference Finals. The Cavs could come out and put BTA tonight. But even if the Cavs lose tonight, then that kind of raises the question, which is a similar question we have with another team I was going to bring up here in a second. What do you do if you're Cleveland? Because that'd be 2 years in a row you got bounced in the second round. I mean, it's clear Donovan Mitchell is your one. He's your guy, but how much longer do you try to run with this Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, dual front court situation? Because I don't know, man. It just doesn't. I don't know. Like, you get bounced in the second round both years. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily working for you. And they just have an odd team, man. They have a weird team. I like Donovan Mitchell, though. I like to see him succeed. I feel like you need to kind of shake a few things up. Maybe get a couple new guys around him. Because, like, is James Harden going to be around long term? Is that your, like, future point guard? Or was that just, like, get off the Darius Garland contract, bring in James Harden till the end of the season and see what works there? Because I don't know. I feel like James Harden, maybe I'm tripping, but I feel like he's kind of over that hump, and he's kind of in the twilight years of his career. Like, bro's 36 years old, bro. Like, hang it up. Let's see. Okay, James Harden this season averaged 27-5. That's not horrible. It's actually not bad at all. But he's been regressing. Oh my God. Bro, his first year with the Clippers, he averaged 16, 5, and 8. This dude, he averaged... That's insane, bro. He averaged 36 points per game in 2019, 34 the next season, and then whatever happened his last season in Houston, he only averaged... Granted, he only played 8 games that year, but he only averaged 24. That's wild. This dude used to be, he's been in the league so long that on his stats page, it doesn't even show his OKC years. It only goes to 2013. That's hilarious. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure what the Cavs do with James Harden. Let's see what type of contract is James Harden on? Is he on a reasonable deal or 2 years, 81 mils? Is he going to be a free agent this offseason? He's not. They got him under contract for next season, so it'll be interesting to see if they run that back. Because I think if you're Cleveland, if you don't win this series tonight, you have to get rid of Jared Allen or Evan Mobley. And obviously, Evan Mobley's a better player, but then the question is, do you want to get more value in the sense of you ship Evan Mobley because you're going to get more capital, or do you just want to get rid of Jared Allen and maybe bring in like a better, I don't know, like a wing or something to kind of fill out your lineup? So who knows? But the next team I was going to talk about that I was saying I had a question about what do you do for the future? It's the Minnesota Timberwolves. Back to back years they made the NBA Conference Finals. This year they were the sixth seed. They get past the Nuggets, which we talked about that before. What are the Nuggets going to do? But then they kind of just fizzle out against the Spurs. Granted, the Spurs are a great basketball team. I think they won 2 games, so shout out them for that. But it just doesn't seem like whatever they have going on there is built for a championship run. Like they are a good basketball team. Do not get it twisted. Do not get me wrong. But I do not feel like they are necessarily built for a finals run. Anthony Edwards is a championship team like leading player. That's for sure. He could be the main option on a championship winning team without a doubt. But I feel like the supporting cast they have in Minnesota right now is not one that necessarily plays to hit his advantages too well. Like it seems like Julius Randle isn't quite the best counterpart for an Anthony Edwards type player. Because Julius Randle is he's a very interesting player. Like if you watch him play, he's an interesting case because like he's a very like post heavy kind of big, but he can also stretch the floor and shoot the three. He's all right on defense. He's just a very odd number two option. He's just like almost like a worse Alfred Şengün, like a pretty substantially worse Alfred Şengün. And I don't know if that necessarily is what Anthony Edwards needs. Now your next question may be, okay, Drew, what does he need? I don't know. I'm not that tapped into hoops. I don't know ball that well, so I don't have the answer for that. But I feel like they need to shake a few things up. There's a lot of teams I feel like that are going to try to shake a few things up this offseason. So we'll see how that all goes. We'll see who ends up where. And we'll see what the NBA looks like coming into next season. Because it could be a little crazy. It could be a little funky. I guess the last thing we're going to touch on here on the NBA playoffs is LeBron James. LeBron James. The man, the myth, the legend. Some might argue, the GOAT. Team gets bounced in the second round of the playoffs. The Lakers, that is. He doesn't seem too happy about it. He doesn't seem too jazzed. And he's on a final year. I think he's an unrestricted free agent this offseason. And next season is probably going to be his last season in the NBA. I feel like he doesn't want to be in LA anymore. And I don't think the Lakers really want him either because ever since they traded for Luka, Luka's obviously the future. So you want to build around Luka. And when you have a 42-year-old, however old LeBron James is, old man hogging up $50 million of your cap space, it's a little bit hard to kind of build around your new, young, shiny toy that you have. So I think Bron's got to get out of LA. I think he wants out of LA. But then the question is, like, where the hell does he go? I think you go back to Cleveland. I think it's the perfect storybook ending for LeBron James' career is to go back to Cleveland for 1 year. Maybe sign a team-friendly deal, like for 20 mil or something, 1 year, 20 mil. Come back to Cleveland, run it back one more time. I mean, you get to play, can you imagine, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, question mark, all playing together? That'd be just James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, and LeBron James would be a pretty wild team. And you could even maybe get some like borderline, like, role players, who are like pretty solid, to come in on a 1 year pay cut, and you could just build like almost like a 2019 Raptors team where it's like you're only doing this one time. This is a 1 year experiment. It's either gonna work out and we're gonna win the chip, or it's gonna be a horrible time. So you could, if you convince LeBron to come over on a team friendly deal, you could probably get a couple, like I said, a couple role players that are pretty nice to come in for 1 year on a bit of a pay cut and make that, have that chance to go run for place, or even like veterans who are looking to get that ring. Dudes like CJ McCollum, like he's a free agent this offseason. Andre Drummond, like those types of guys would probably love to come in for 1 season and just have a chance at getting a ring. You know what I mean? Like fuck it, let's just make a run for it. So that would be kind of fun. I was at a my own wedding shower. I was at a wedding shower yesterday. And I was at my own wedding shower yesterday, and I was talking to one of my boys, and he said the New York Knicks. He said LeBron James, the New York Knicks. They trade Cat away, and they bring in LeBron James. First off, I don't even think that fits. And second off, that would be an absolute nightmare. I would fucking hate if. No, I don't even want to think about that. So we'll see what Braun does. I think it'd be really boring if he comes back to LA for 1 more year and then announces his retirement. Like, that's kind of lame. But you never know. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, I think we should jump into some weekly observations here. If you are new to the show, the weekly observations are just a little segment in the show I like to do where I kind of cover a few things that I don't really got a full 5 to 10 minutes on, but I want to touch on and maybe kind of make fun of or go a little deep on, just something I want to bring up. Can a man do that? Jeez. The first thing I want to talk about is, have you guys seen these Trump phones? Donald Trump. Yeah, he was making, he made a little bit of news this week, which is, might add, a little shocking. Because, usually Donald Trump, he's a pretty low-key, laid-back guy, usually out of the limelight, doesn't really ruffle any feathers, kind of keeps to his own, stays out of the news cycle. But this week he made a little bit of news that came across my desk, and it seemed like there was some controversy with his Trump phones, which I didn't know were even a thing. But I saw a post, let me see if I can pull it up here, about how they were getting delayed again. Like, they were announced last summer, and they were getting so this post I saw, it says nearly 600,000 people reportedly paid a $100 deposit for Trump's $499 gold phone, totaling around $59 million collected. Over a year later, not a single phone has shipped. Now, Trump Mobile has quietly updated its terms of service and removed guarantees surrounding both delivery and refunds. The company's updated fine print reportedly states there's no guarantee the phone will ever be manufactured or sold. So I was going to come on here and do a whole segment about how old DJT is a scam artist, and we're allowing this goober to continue to just like make a mockery of the American people. I mean, 600,000 people paid $100 million deposit to get a stupid Trump phone. Now, if you're watching the video portion, I can hold it up, you can maybe see it. There's the phone in question. Oh, man. Can you imagine? Okay, listen. Before I go any further, I will say apparently they've started shipping. So shout out you for fulfilling your promise. Can you imagine if you're at a function, you're hanging out with somebody, you're chilling, you get to know somebody, and you're like, damn, this dude's like cool as hell, bro. Like, hey man, let me get your number, we should keep in touch. And bro pulls out a Trump phone. Yeah, bro, I don't even know what I would do if I saw somebody pull out a Trump phone. That's insane. Because not only is it fucking wild that the president of the United States is selling a phone, but the same president that is in cahoots with the Israeli government, who is like low key been on a bit of a bad PR tour this past, I don't know, year. You know what I mean? What are the chances there's spyware embedded in these phones? What are the chances that you're getting sold a phone and now you're just like you're being tracked by the Israeli government? I wouldn't put it at zero. It is a bit of a tinfoil hat conspiracy, but I wouldn't put it at 0%. And not only that, bro, 600,000 people? 600,000 people decided might be a good idea to go buy me a Trump phone. That is absolutely absurd. And that's not even like the craziest thing that this dude has done. Like why I how are we allowing a president of the United States to have his own fucking merch? Like bro has a merch line. Bro is doing all types of stupid shit. Like what are some other products? We're going to pull this up live and on camera. What are some other products Donald Trump be selling? Because I know for a fact he sold a Bible with his face on it. That's crazy. You know what I mean? Like the dude who preaches Christianity goes out of his way to sell a Bible with his face on it. Now, we're not going to do a whole spiel about Donald Trump and Christianity. We already did that. But I'm just saying, that shit's crazy. Okay. So he has sold sneakers, the Never Surrender high tops, and 45/47 branded sneakers. That's crazy. Victory 47 cologne and perfume. God bless the USA Bibles. Insane. MAGA hats, obviously. Come on now. Come on now. If you're a president, you got to have a hat. You know what I'm saying? That's the one thing that, like, I will say he kind of popped off on was those red MAGA hats. Like, obviously, stupid. But those MAGA hats, bro, they had a run. They had a run. They're so ingrained, I feel like, in American culture at this point, that you cannot wear an all red hat. You can't. It has ruined all red hats for eternity. Because anytime I see an all red hat, the first thing I think is like, that's one of those fucking MAGA hats, bro. Insane. Absolutely insane. Just the fucking tour that hat went on. So, I mean, we could say shout out him for that. Victory Collection watches priced up to $100,000. Trump digital trading cards and crypto ventures. Trump coffee pods. Trump wine decanters, blankets, and jasmine room spray. I didn't even know about that. He's sold Save America photo book. He has Trump guitars. What is happening? He has a vodka line. He had a short-lived mortgage company. He has an ice cream parlor, a Monopoly style board game, a magazine. Oh, and a steak. Granted, this was sold in the 2000s pre-presidency. I mean, I guess he's a businessman, so what can you expect? But like, this is fucking absurd. Like, I don't know. And the thing is, there's there's somebody out there that's got a whole DJT fit, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's got the Never Surrender sneaks. He's got the MAGA cap. He's probably got a MAGA shirt because, like, are those still a thing? Do you guys remember Donald Trump stores? Do you remember those? I think when I was in Florida, I saw one. It's like one of those, like, touristy Florida spots. Absolutely absurd. One, like, that is so dystopian. That is so, like, George Orwellian that we're gonna look back on that and we're gonna be like, what the absolute fuck was going on in America during that time? Which brings up a good point that I kind of like came up, like I realized this week, which I guess is maybe the second weekly observation, but it ties into this one that we're currently talking about, is that sometimes when you have been around something for so long, like in this case, what we were talking about, this whole Donald Trump saga, you kind of don't necessarily realize how insane it is because you've been so acclimated to it over the past however many years. Like, when it started, it might have seemed a little crazy, but as it's ramped up and gotten crazier and crazier and crazier, it's like slowly grown to that point to where you don't really realize how far it's gone until you kind of take a step back and look at it from a new, like a fresh perspective, and you're kind of like, oh, whoa, which is why I feel like a lot of young kids, a lot of the newer generation who weren't really raised in like a conservative household are kind of looking at this like this is insane. Like y'all live like this is like what you guys do this, but like this older generation who like over the years has just been like slowly more and more, this has become normalized. It's not as crazy to them. It's just normal. Like this is just what it is. This is just what the president does. But for a person viewing it for the first time, like someone outside America who hasn't lived through the past, what is it, 8 to 10 years of American politics, who looks at it for the first time, and it's like, you guys are a fucking clown show. And that is kind of where I feel like we're at. Like we have some people who are looking at it from like a new fresh perspective and like this is insane. And you have some people who have been just so, in it this whole time, they don't even realize how wild it's become. And what made me kind of have that realization was Michael Jackson. And you may be like, what are you talking about? Growing up, I was terrified of Michael Jackson. This isn't even just like a unique experience to me. Like a lot of people my age and younger who saw Michael Jackson growing up, we were terrified of that man because he looked terrifying, bro. His nose, his chin, his white skin, his weird hair, like he was a scary looking dude. But when my fiance was talking to her mom about it, being like, yeah, we were so terrified of Michael Jackson growing up, she's like, why? I'm like, what do you mean, why? Look at the guy. And it kind of made me realize, like, well, if you grew up with Michael Jackson in a sense, like if you were born in the 60s or the 70s or even the 80s, and you kind of grew up with him as he kind of progressed into this version of himself that he was at the end of his life, you're kind of slowly getting to that point where like every new extreme that he kind of got to, you were like slowly getting to it where it almost seemed normal. It wasn't necessarily crazy, it wasn't necessarily absurd. So when you go from what he looked like in the 70s to what he looked like when he died, it's a slow climb to that absolutely extreme example that you don't even really quite realize how extreme it had become. But for somebody like us, the younger generation, who all we knew was the 45 to 50-year-old Michael Jackson, that shit was terrifying. That shit was insane. It was wild to look at him and be like, oh my god, what is that? That's terrifying. So I feel like it kind of made me realize that, like, man, sometimes you kind of have to like zoom out for a second, kind of pull yourself out of it and look at things from a new perspective. Or maybe you're so ingrained that like you can't see that, you aren't able to pull yourself out of it and look at the situation from a new perspective. Maybe try to talk to people and align yourself with people who have no bias, who have not been in this situation for the past 10 years, and maybe see what it looks like from their eyes. Because sometimes a fresh set of eyes can open your mind to things that you have just put on blinders to. And I feel like where our president is at in this current situation is a bit insane. And I feel like we all just kind of act like it's normal. Same with Michael Jackson. Rest in peace. But yeah, so maybe just try to like open your eyes about certain aspects of things. The next thing I want to talk about here is they did the NFL schedule releases this week. And am I lame? Am I like not hip and not fun? Or are these NFL schedule releases kind of stupid? Respectfully. Like, are they trying to make something out of nothing with this? Or am I just like one of the guys that's just hating on everyone having fun? Because every year they drop these schedule release videos, and all the sports pages on Instagram hype them up like, oh, check out this schedule release video, the Chargers schedule release video, the Bills schedule release video. And it's just kind of like, man, why I don't care. The only reason I cared even remotely about the Jaguars schedule release videos because I thought Trevor Lawrence cut his hair, and then I saw the end of the video and he looked like a middle aged lesbian, and I'm like, Trevor Lawrence would not allow himself to do that. So then I knew that was fake. So then it's like, we're faking dudes getting haircuts for schedule release videos. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm the problem. Yeah. Maybe this is fun for everybody else and I'm just being cynical about it. But I just don't feel like it's necessarily something that we need to hype up. Just drop a post with the schedule on it. Let me see it. And let me go on about my day. We don't need to do a whole song and dance. We don't need to do a whole production about who it is that your team is playing next year. Because the reality is, like, you already know who they're playing for the most part. Like, no, like, you do. You already know. You play your division opponents twice. You play in your conference. You play, like, whatever seed you finished. I believe you play the team in the same seed you finished. So if you finish third in your division, you play the third place finisher in the other divisions in your conference. And then you typically play one NFC conference, right? So it's not hard to tell who it is you're going to play. Like, you know who they're playing next year by the time the regular season ends. So why do we need to do a schedule release video? It's like, if we didn't know who they were playing, like if it was a completely random schedule every year, I could get behind it. I'm like, yo, this is kind of fun. Like, who do the Colts got? But I already know who they're playing. I already know who it is that the Colts are going to be playing next year. I don't need to have some long, drawn-out affair about... Sorry, I got Hanta. About who they're playing. I don't know, bro. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'm just lame. Maybe I'm the fun police, and everyone else is having a good old time here, and I'm just over here talking shit about it. So, I guess it really doesn't matter that much, but I feel like it's just kind of lame. I feel like we're gassing up something that doesn't necessarily need to be gassed up. Last thing I want to touch on here is I've been watching. Man, this is not a racing podcast, but you know what I mean. I've been watching a lot of racing lately, and I found myself watching quite a bit of O'Reilly Series racing. And is it more entertaining than Cup Series? Because at least the past 2 to 3 weeks, when I've sat down to watch the last, I don't know, 80 to 100 laps of an O'Reilly race, I'm glued to my screen, bro. Like, we're having, like, some insane finishes, some insane racing, a lot of, like, people chasing down people, and just, like, some really fun, like, the type of stuff that, like, makes me a fan of NASCAR again. And then I kind of go into the Cup Series, and it just, I don't know, man. It doesn't have the same grit. I feel like that's maybe what it is. Like, the Cup Series has kind of evolved into, like, this new thing, whereas the O'Reilly Series feels very reminiscent of, like, that kind of early 2010s, late 2000s NASCAR. Just because, like, I feel like the car style, again, maybe I'm wrong here, but the car style, the paint schemes, just something about it, it just feels more true to stock car racing than I feel like the Cup Series is. I feel like the Cup Series is almost becoming more of like I don't even know. Like it's like it feels more like it's becoming like a Formula One-esque type environment. Like, that's kind of like maybe what they're trying to lean more towards. Whereas O'Reilly is just like staying true to the stock car racing roots. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about racing. Maybe I'm a casual. Maybe nobody else feels this way. But part of me feels like it's a lot more fun in the lower divisions. I don't know. Maybe that's crazy. So let me know if you're a big racing head. Maybe let me know how you feel. Kind of what you're vibing with over there in the NASCAR world of things. And then they got like this week they got the All-Star race for NASCAR. What? You know what I mean? Like, who cares, bro? No disrespect. Again, maybe I'm a casual. But I don't give a fuck about an all-star race. You know what I mean? And it's not even like there's like 26 all-stars. Is that a lot? Well, I guess not. But when you only got like, was it like 40 something dudes? Like, how many people compete in a NASCAR race? See, I need a producer is what I need. You know how much better flow this would have if I had to produce 36 to 40 cars and you have 26 All Stars. You know what I mean? It's not like the NBA. You got 450 dudes, and you pick out what's like 30. 30 All Stars. That's pretty good. That's a pretty elite selection of players. Like these are the top 30 players in the league out of 450. That's pretty sick. It's a pretty good honor. But if you're the top 26 out of 36, it's just kind of like, oh man, so there's 10 dudes in this, Cup series that aren't considered an all-star. Like I feel like it doesn't really carry as much of an honor. I feel like people really don't really give a shit. So why do it? I don't know. Maybe it's just their attempt to jazz things up. But, maybe just make the product better and you won't have to worry about doing silly races to jazz the fans up. So that concludes our weekly observations this week. I guess to close today's show out, I guess we could have maybe fit this into the weekly observations, but I kind of wanted to give it its own moment to shine because I feel like I can, kind of expand on this a little bit. But I wanted to talk about how being the young guy in a group of older folks is such an elite experience. Like this week, I found myself in a situation where I was the only 20-something-year-old in a group of people who were, 30s, 40s, 50s. And when you find yourself in a situation like that, it can really be a lot of fun because I feel like in today's day and age, a lot of like the younger generation, whenever they find themselves in a group setting, they just always like the number one like thing you see younger people do whenever they're in a situation where like it's like a bit of awkward silence, it's bro, they pull out the phone. I'm not trying to sound like an old head here, but if you've ever seen yourself, if you ever like just watch a 20 something year old, a teenager in a social setting, if there's like the slightest bit of silence, the slightest bit of awkward air, first thing I do is they pull the phone out and just start typing on it. And so I feel like a lot of older people have become accustomed to younger people just kind of always being on their phone and not really trying to engage or interact in a more social situation. So when I find myself in these situations, I try to almost lean into being like the young dumbass. And that's kind of where I found myself this week. It was like a whole work situation. So we're kind of at like this like uppity corporate-esque type event. And then I'm just there fucking just cracking the sillies. Just being the young guy, the lighthearted energy in the environment. And it's so cool because you older people eat that shit up, bro. That's what you don't realize is older people, they eat that shit up. They love when there's a young dude who just leans into whatever silly business he's got going on and can just be in the moment with them and have some fun and be silly because like I said, a lot of younger people don't really be doing that. And it's a pretty cool experience. And there was a couple times where I towed the line a little bit. I'm not going to act like I was playing it safe because my role sometimes in these situations is I'm the comedic relief. Sometimes you're dealing with, especially in this situation, is dealing with more, officey people. And my role within this company that I work is I'm more the field guy. I work on the job sites. I'll be in the trenches. And if you've ever been on a job site, if you've ever experienced a construction job site, the things that get said on that job site, some of the most absurd things you'll ever hear. You almost have to be able to have a good sense of humor and to be able to kind of clap back and roast pretty quick, or it's sink or swim, bro. In certain aspects, some job sites are different personalities, but if you got like a bunch of younger guys, yeah, you got to be able to clap back. You got to be able to think on your feet and make a joke quick because they're coming for you. So you got to be able to come right back at them. You know what I'm saying? So then when you take that experience of what I'm used to, and then you put me in a room at a corporate ass event with a bunch of people who are more used to like the office setting, more used to like office talk, and you send a wild card young guy in there who's who's used to thinking on his toes and hitting the quick hit funnies, man, I feel like you just feel like you're killing at like a stand up comedy thing. You're pulling out your best material, and the crowd's eating it up because you have that sauce, bro. You have that juice. You have that carefreeness that you have as a young person in these more corporate settings. Because I mean, you've been in the corporate settings long enough. You kind of maybe over time you kind of start to succumb to the rules. You become a little boring. You know what I mean? You're less likely to toe the line because you care about your reputation. But you throw the young pup in there who's really don't give a fuck about any of this, man. It can create for a fun time. So that was pretty cool. That was a fun little experience. And I guess there's one more thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. And it is a question I have to ask. Am I washed? Am I cooked? Or have I just grown up? And the reason I asked that question is because I went to a housewarming party last night. So I had my wedding shower, first of all, on Saturday, which was yesterday. And, that was a whole situation. It wasn't bad. It was a good time. But, like you do something of that magnitude, a party like that, especially when you're the front and center type of, you're the reason the whole party is happening. It's a little like emotionally draining, mentally draining, whatever. And then to follow that up, I had to go to a housewarming party that was sprung upon me on the way to the wedding shower. So I didn't have time to mentally prepare for this. I thought it was wedding shower, go home, chill on the couch. No, sir, Bob. It's wedding shower, go home, get ready to go out again, and then go out and socialize once again. But we went to this housewarming party, and we were there for, I don't know, a little over an hour. Got there at like 7:45, stayed till about 9 o'clock. And I'm like, that was cool. That was fun. That was a good time. Hung out, had a couple drinks, had some cool conversations, and we left. But when we left, the people that were hosting, you're like, yo, where you going? Where you going? What do you mean, where we go? What do you mean? It's 9 o'clock. Like, I mean, I've been out, I'm not saying it's like bedtime, but like, I've had my couple drinks. I've been here for about an hour. I'm kind of ready to go home. Turns out these people were wanting to hang out at the crib till like midnight and then go hit the bars afterwards. And let me tell you, I don't think there is a worse night I could think of than getting to a bar at midnight after have been drinking for the past 3 to 4 hours at somebody's house. That might be my personal hell. And it's made me kind of realize, like, am I washed? Because I used to be moving like that back in the day. Back when I was, in my early 20s, which, hey, 25 now, so I guess we could say we're in the mid-20s. When I was in my earlier 20s, I was moving like that. We would pregame at someone's crib till 10:30, 11. You'd be like 4 or 5 drinks deep. You'd be feeling loose. You'd go to the bars. You're out till 1 a.m. And I used to live like in the city, so I'm walking home smoking a cigarette at 1 in the morning. Uber Eats, Taco Bell's on the way to the crib. That's the way I used to be moving. And I've quickly come to realize that is not who I am anymore. So I don't know if it's necessarily me growing up and me kind of realizing that, like, hey, that's just not necessarily a productive way to spend a Saturday evening. Or maybe I'm just washed. I think it's more the first one because I think I've just learned more about myself. Like, it's really fun to go out on a Saturday night. Don't get it twisted. It's fun to go out on a Saturday night. It's fun to hang out with friends. It's fun to just go out and let loose a little bit. But what's absolutely not fun is being hungover. Being hungover is probably one of the worst experiences. There's probably worse experiences. Being hungover sucks. I absolutely hate being hungover. You literally waste an entire day. You feel like shit. And it's just such you just like the Sunday scaries. You have like this like anxiety about your day. And I think what my last hoorah was, I remember it fairly vividly. Or not really, but I can pinpoint exactly when that era of my life, the chapter, the book, so to speak, closed. It had been 2 summers ago when I lived downtown. I had a couple buddies come up from my hometown, and Naomi wasn't home, so I had the crib to myself. So I was like, "Yo, let's just like go crazy and hit the bars." So that's exactly what we did. We kind of pre-gamed at the crib, got a little loose, and then we walked down to Meridian Street in Indianapolis, and we got sauced and hashtag tossed. Like low key, like stumbling when we walked type of tossed. And that next day, I felt so bad for the entire day. And I just felt nauseous all day that I had to like make myself throw up just to like stop feeling nauseous because I had for like past like 8 hours. And it was one of those moments where you tell yourself like I'm never drinking that much again, except this time I like meant it. Like I literally have not gotten to that place since that night because it like awoke something within me where I was like, this is the stupidest use of my time ever. Like, I'm not saying you can't drink and you can't go out with friends, but I'm just saying taking it to that limit where you get so fucked up that you're just screaming, having a screaming conversation with somebody in the bar, or you're just talking to somebody about absolute bullshit. You're saying things you don't mean. You're doing things like you're going to regret. All to just feel like absolute dog shit the next day. Respectfully, I'd rather just like come home after like hanging out with my friends for a couple hours, having like 2 or 3 drinks, and then just like go to bed at like 11:30 and wake up the next day and feel fine. I'd much rather do that than take it to this extreme level where, you know what I mean, you're feeling like absolute dookie the next day. So, I think we've talked through that. I think the answer is I'm not washed. I've just grown up. I've learned my limits and I've learned more about myself in the sense that that is not necessarily how I want to spend my life. I think that's where we're going to wrap today's show up. I want to thank everybody for listening as always. Thank you so much for listening this far on the show. You are my goats. If you're listening on Spotify, please rate 5 stars. Please drop a comment for the algorithm. Maybe share the show with a friend. If you're listening on YouTube, drop a comment, subscribe, like the video. Do what you gotta do to boost the algorithm. If you're on Apple Podcasts, do whatever you gotta do over there. I don't know. Like I said, still don't know what goes on over there. But I see you. I acknowledge you. You exist to me. Don't forget to follow the socials at Accidentally Profound on Instagram, the TikTok at Accidentally Profound Pod. We're running up the numbers over there. We are blowing up. We are a social media sensation. So don't forget to get your ticket to the ride to the top. And I guess we'll see you all there. Don't forget, next week's episode will probably come out on a Tuesday, so don't think that I ended the show if it's not out on Monday. I wouldn't do that to you guys. Wouldn't leave you hanging. Once again, it means so much that you guys listen to this show, and I hope you enjoyed this one because I know I enjoyed hanging out with you for this hour. I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.